Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm in the Client Training and Education Department here at TradeStation. And again, it is a pleasure to be here with all of you. Good morning to everyone, or good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you're connecting from. Today's class is on OptionStation Pro. So we're going to take the next 60 minutes to talk about all the functionality and all the features that are available in OptionStation Pro that allow you to load option chains, trade options spreads, and also do some searching capabilities on the OptionStation Pro platform. Before we get started, here's some information that I wanted to share with everyone here in class. First of all, the disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about here today is for demonstration and educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Active trading is not suitable for everyone. And if you'd like to read more about these disclosures, you can always go to the TradeStation website. They're going to be at the bottom of the page, or you can click on that link right there in the chat that Nico has submitted for all of us. Let's get the class started. As I said at the beginning of the session, we are going to talk about OptionStation Pro and everything related to options. The chat is there for you to send me questions. So if you'd like a little bit of more clarification on some of the features that I'm going to be presenting on, feel free to do so. I'm looking at the chat here once in a while. If it's something that is not related to OptionStation Pro, we have a special session tomorrow at 12 noon titled Ask the Experts, and that's where we reserve those questions that are a little bit more complex, more advanced, more unique to your own trading style. So if I don't get to your question here in this event, feel free to join us tomorrow, and I encourage everyone to do so tomorrow at 12 noon in Ask the TradeStation Experts. Let's get started. I'm going to switch over here to my TradeStation platform, and OptionStation Pro has been fully integrated into our TradeStation platform. In fact, in order for you to access OptionStation Pro, you do have to pull up TradeStation, come here to the apps section of the platform, and then click on OptionStation Pro. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, let's give OptionStation Pro a moment to load up. And there we are. OptionStation Pro is designed to open up using the last symbol that you were looking at. If you notice here on the top left corner of my OptionStation Pro, I have Facebook. Facebook was the last symbol that I was looking at, so as soon as I opened up OptionStation Pro, that's what I see. Up here in the top left corner, I can change the symbol if I want to. Let's suppose that I want to see options on Twitter. I type in TWTR. I can also type in the description of the company. Let's say that you don't remember what the symbol is for a particular company. Just type in the name of the corporation, and the search results should come up with the symbol automatically. So I'm going to just click here from the search results. It's going to load my Twitter options right here into OptionStation Pro. And before I do anything on the platform, let me show you or give you a little tour of what you're going to be looking at in today's class. Let me pull up my drawing tools for a moment. And first of all, this box right here at the top, or this panel, the way I call it, is the underlying asset panel. So whenever you want to see information on the underlying asset, just look at the top of OptionStation Pro and you'll see all the information there. The other panel, which is this one right here, that is my options panel. In fact, if you look closely right here at the bottom left, you're going to find 4 different tabs: options, analysis, manage, and search. So at any given time in OptionStation Pro, you're going to be in one of those tabs. If you pull up OptionStation Pro and it doesn't look like what you had seen before, or the last time you looked at it, is probably because you are on a different tab. The one that is active at the moment is the one that is in blue, but you can just click on those tabs to switch back and forth between them and look at different views. We're going to talk about the features and the functionality that are on each one of those tabs, so you know exactly where to go to find the information you're looking for. So right now we are in the options tab, and let's go ahead and concentrate here and show you exactly what is it that you're looking at. Expirations are going to be here on the left hand side. The most recent or upcoming expiration is going to be at the top. All these expirations can also be collapsed and expanded by using the little button here on the left hand side. If I want to see October options, I just click on that little button and now I see my October options. If I want to increase the number of strikes that I see right here in the middle, that's where I see the strikes. Notice that you have a dedicated strikes drop down. Right now it's set to 10, but if I want to see 20, it's going to show you, 20 strikes, 10 above and 10 below the underlying trading price. You can also use the filter up here on the top of the options panel to be a little bit more selective as to what options you're going to be looking at. Here, you can limit the number of expirations that are going to show up, especially if you only trade, the upcoming expirations like closer to today's date. There's probably no need to have expirations going out into next year or so. So you can limit the number of expirations here. You can also decide which types of options you want displayed. If you only trade weeklies, you may want to uncheck the monthlies and the quarterlies. They're all checked by default, so you can see everything. And you can just click on apply once you made some changes, and that will control the options that are displayed here in the options panel. Some other information that is displayed here inside parentheses, you have a number. That number is the days that are remaining until the expiration of this option group. And if you look over here on the right, you find some very useful information. Let me just scroll down here. These percentages that you find right here below my webcam, the percentages are implied volatility for the options in that grouping. And based on that implied volatility, you have what's called an expected move. So the number in parentheses is what Twitter is expected to do going forward until the expiration of these options. So it's expected to move $4.89. It doesn't give you the direction in which the price is going to go, but based on the implied volatility of the options, there is an expected move up and down for Twitter. So it is expected to move $4.89 up or down. So that's the range of prices for this grouping of options. Very interesting information. That expected move that you see right there in parentheses is also represented by this shade of gray that you see behind the strike prices. So the shade of gray will tell you how far the price can move based on implied volatility. Remember that all these values are theoretical, so we have a range of prices, and Twitter can move, in between those, that shade of gray. That is very useful when you try to put in positions on OptionStation Pro, because you can see the possibilities of the underlying moving in either direction. Okay, let's talk about clicking on OptionStation Pro. There is a setting up here. Let me remove my webcam. Right here on the top right, there's a click to, and there's a drop down that allows you to change what happens when you click on a price of an option. By default, it's set to trade, which means that if you click on the bid or ask of any of the options that are here, it's going to assume that you want to trade that option. But you can also change it to analyze trade, which will send you to the analysis tab right here at the bottom of OptionStation Pro. By the way, let me clear out this analysis tab because I want to make sure that it doesn't have any information. Okay, so if I go back to options, the drop down right here on the top left will change the behavior of my clicking. By default, it's set to trade, which will pop up the trade bar for you, but you can change it to analyze trade if you're still in analyze mode and you want to remain in analyze mode, and go to the analysis tab to analyze any options positions before you trade them. I'm going to leave it on trade for now, because even if you leave it on trade, you're not obligated to trade it. When you get the trade bar, when the trade bar pops up from the bottom of the screen, you also have the option to analyze that trade. I'm going to show that to you once we get to it. Okay, so let's go in and put in a trade. Let's suppose that I am bullish Twitter and I want to buy a call. I want to buy a call of a strike price of 41. The current price of Twitter is 41.96. So I'm going to buy a call which gives me the right to buy Twitter at 41, if that's the strike price that I call, until the expiration of this option, which is October. So I know that the option is being sold for $2.98. That's the ask price. That's the selling price. So if I want to buy it, if I want to buy it now and get filled, that's the price that I would get, $2.98. So notice that as I hover over the prices, I also get a little tooltip letting me know which action is it going to take. Is it a buy or a sell? So if I hover over the ask, it says buy. If I hover over the bid, it's a sell. So let's go ahead and set a buy transaction. I'm going to click on the price here, 298 or 297. I'm going to scroll up a little bit because I want you guys to see what's happening when you click on a particular bid or ask. First of all, it highlights the row so that you can have a visual of where your call is in relationship to the other ones. Of course, you can change it. Let's say that I change my mind and I want to change or buy the 40. I can always click on the ask price of the 40, and you can see how the highlight just shifts to that other one that I clicked on. Now, what I am clicking on gets transferred over here at the bottom, which is my trade bar. And you can see that this is a buy to open, one contract for Twitter. We see the expiration date, we see the strike, and we see the type of option. All these boxes that you see, or a lot of these boxes here, let's not say all of them because you cannot change the symbol, but you can change the expiration if you wanted to. You can change the strike right on the fly before even placing the trade, and you can even change the type of option. If you want to change it from a call to a put, you just have to click on this drop down right here. So this is the trade bar. This is where you put in your specifications to trade this particular call. Right here below we have a natural and we have a mid button, which will display, let's say it that way, will display the real-time prices of this particular option. It gives you the mid price, that is the mid price between the bid and the ask, and it also gives you the natural pricing. Natural is just getting the price of the actual call. So this is a call with a strike price of 40 being sold at $3.60, and that's the natural pricing down here. We can try getting the natural pricing, or we can improve the pricing by just adjusting it here. Let's say that I want to buy this at $3.50 instead of the $3.60 that it's being sold for. That would be a limit order, and I'm just trying to get a better price on that call. Let me go ahead and place that order, and then we're going to come back and show you how to modify the order and how to manage the position. Let me place the order from here. I'm going to click on that green button below that says place order. This is my confirmation window, and I'm just going to click on yes. All right. So without even going anywhere else, you can come here and look at the bottom of your TradeStation right there below. You can see information about the last order that you placed. You can see right there below that it says received in my simulated account, buy to open, 1 Twitter, October 2019, 40 call at $3.50. It'll always give you information on the last order placed. Even if it's a spread, you'll see the information there. However, if you want to make modifications to that order, you're going to have to switch tabs here. From the Options tab, we're going to go over to the Manage tab. Let me introduce you to the Manage tab and see what is available here. First of all, this box at the top, right here, that is the Orders panel. That's where you see all the orders. Orders that are filled, orders that are canceled, orders that are working for you. And as you can see, I have my received category up here. Those are the only type of orders that I've placed today. I haven't gotten filled today or canceled today, and that's why those categories don't show up. But you're going to see that as we make changes to those orders, you're going to see the different categories show up there as well. The bottom panel, this one right here, that is your positions panel. This will show you every position that you have in your account, not only options position but also equities position. That way, if you want to do a covered call or a covered put, you know how many shares you have on these equities, and that will simplify the process for you. So orders at the top, positions at the bottom, and let's see what we can do with them. Let me go ahead and clear my drawings, hide my drawing tool. Let's see. Here I see my buy to open. That's the top order that I see there. I submitted a GTC, I think yesterday, to sell 1,000 shares of Facebook, and I also see that order there. But I want to focus on this one at the top, which is the buy to open, one Twitter. And here's my limit price, $3.50. Now, if I want to get filled right now, I probably want to buy it at the price that they're being sold at. So let's make a modification to that order. Very simply, you can just right click on the row, and then you can do a cancel replace. When I do cancel replace, you can see that the trade bar pops up from the bottom of OptionStation Pro. I see my pricing here, and I'm going to change it. I'm just going to click on the natural pricing button so that it populates, or it feeds that price into the limit price box. So now it's 360, and I'm just going to place the order. Say yes, and I get filled. How do I know that I get filled? Because if you look up here in the orders panel, it's not under received anymore. It's under the filled category, and I see my buy to open. I see my limit price, $3.60, and I see my filled price over here on the far right, $3.60. So now I'm the owner of this call with the strike price of 40, and I got filled at 360. Let's go ahead and take a look at my position and what happened to it. Over here at the bottom, I have positions for all these equities. I'm going to open up Twitter, which is the one that I just placed a trade on. I had an equity position on Twitter for 1,000 shares. These I traded yesterday, and if you look over here on the right, it's a position that's making about $235. One of the nice things about OptionStation Pro is that it's not only designed to trade options. You can also manage your equities positions from here, and you can even trade equities or stocks right from within OptionStation Pro. So let's say, for example, that in this case, I didn't realize that I had 1,000 shares of Twitter, and I want to get rid of them. And I want to get rid of them especially because I'm making some money, and I probably want to capture that profit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that row that represents my equity position, and I'm going to say close this position. Notice how the trade bar pops up from the bottom again, but this time it's to sell, close 1,000 shares of Twitter. I'm going to do this at a market order, and I'm just going to say place the order. Perfect. Now you can see that under Twitter, I only have my single call, strike price of 40, and if you notice here towards the right hand side, I am making about $2.50 as we speak. Okay, here's the trade cost, $360. That makes sense because if you remember the pricing was $3.60. And since one contract represents 100 shares, then the cost of trading this call was $360. Now, the potential, what is the potential on this particular call? You can right click on any position and analyze it. So I can analyze a duplicate of this position. Let me go ahead and do that so we can analyze the profit and loss of this particular position. I'm going to click on Analyze Duplicate. I want you to see what happened. I was transferred over to the Analysis tab because that's where all the analysis is going to happen. You can see that the information for my call is down below. And the graph right here, it's telling me what is happening to my P&L as the prices of Twitter change. It's a very simple graph. Some people or some traders out there don't use graphing because they find them confusing, but I'm going to break it down for you, okay? The prices of Twitter are right here at the bottom. You can use your mouse pointer to click and drag the prices and bring them in a little bit. Right now I see that they're spaced out a little bit too much. Okay, let me bring the graph in. We'll get into what the shading means and what the lines mean. But I want you to see the prices of Twitter right here at the bottom of the graph. And over here on the left is your P&L. P&L. Now, we know that we purchased a call, right? And I told you that the cost of that transaction is $360. Now, based on that call, if you're an options or if you're an expert options trader, you know that the maximum cost when you buy a call is the premium that you pay for it. So let's take a look. Over here at the bottom, you have some values as maximum profit and maximum loss. So the maximum loss for this position is actually $360. That's the most you can lose on this position. But take a look at maximum profit. That little symbol that you see in there, that's just infinity, which means that Twitter can go up indefinitely, and that's how much profit you're going to make. Indefinite profits, unlimited profits if it goes up and up forever. That is clearly represented in this graph. If you look at this line that is horizontal across the graph, it's right at negative $360. That's your maximum loss. So that's why it's a flat line. You're not going to go any lower. But it gets to a point here where the line starts shooting up, and that's where the unlimited profits come in. There is a certain break-even point. That is the point where the lines cross from negative to the positive side. Now, why do we have two different lines here? That is because options have different valuations based on the time that is remaining until the expiration. You have a valuation right now, and you have a valuation at expiration. There's a time component that is going to affect the value of my option. The yellow line that you see there is the value of the option right now, and the blue line is at expiration. But at any moment or at any given price of Twitter, I can move my pointer across the graph and see exactly what the effect would be. So take a look. Let's suppose that I put my price or my cursor right there. You can see the red line, and you can see that in the red box below it says 48.05. That is just a hypothetical price. Let's suppose that Twitter from 41.95, which is the current price, goes up to 48.05. What happens to my P&L? Well, if that happens today, if Twitter were to go up to 48.05, you can see right there in the legend. I'm not sure if you see that little legend right there on the graph, but you see the yellow line. It says 494.68. I would make $494.68. But if I wait until expiration, and the price is still 48.05, look at the blue line. The blue line would be 447. So you have more chances of making money today if the price were to move to that level than if you wait until expiration. Let's go ahead and take a look at some other functionality. I'm going to remove that hypothetical position that I have here at the bottom. I just have a little X over here on the far right. Let me click on it. Notice how it just disappears. Here I also see my single call, because one of the things that the analysis tab does is that it shows you not only hypothetical positions, or what we call simulations, but it also shows you your real positions. This single call is the one that is in my account. I can also graph real positions by just checking the box here. When you have multiple options position and multiple simulated positions, you can check and uncheck them to combine those positions into the graph, and it'll just merge the P&L from different positions into one graph. Very interesting, just to see what effect would a different position have on your P&L. We'll come back to this later. Let's go ahead and close our call from the Manage tab. I'm going to go to the Manage tab. I see my Twitter position right there. Let's suppose that we want to hold this Twitter call only if it goes in our favor. You know, the call is giving us the right to buy Twitter at $40. Now, what happens if it drops below $40? We probably may not be interested in that call anymore, because why would we buy something at 40 if we can get it cheaper in the market? So if it drops below 40, maybe there's no more value to holding that call, unless you think the price is going to bounce and go back up. But I'm going to do a conditional order here that says, if Twitter drops below 40, I want to get out of that call. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to right click on that position right here from the Manage tab, and I'm going to ask OptionStation Pro to close this position. Close this position. Notice how the trade bar again pops up from the bottom of the screen. This is a selling transaction, not to open but to close. And this is to close my Twitter call with a strike price of 40. But notice what I'm going to do. I'm going to set the order type to a market order. I'm gonna do a market order because I'm gonna make the price of Twitter a conditional order. I don't want to specify the exit on the price of the option. If Twitter drops, I'm talking about the actual stock. If the actual stock drops below 40, I want to get rid of this at whatever price is being, traded at. So I'm going to set a market order. I'm going to put a check here on activation rule. This is where you put in the conditional orders. You just have to check activation rule, and you can click on the ellipsis here to the right just to set your conditions. I'm going to click on the ellipsis, and I'm going to check the box for price. I'm going to type in the symbol for the underline, which is TWTR, Twitter. Click on add. It shows me the current price of Twitter. Once you click on add, I'm going to drop that price to 40. And the directional here has to be less than. So if Twitter is less than 40, then this is going to activate my market order. I find that very convenient. I'm going to click OK to this. The activation rule is already set, and I just have to click on place order from the trade bar. I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to show you something here in the Orders tab. The Orders tab up here, or not the Orders tab, the Orders panel, because the Orders panel is right here in the Manage tab. So I can look up here and see my single order to close my Twitter position. Notice how, one thing that I forgot to do. This is something really important. I forgot to change the duration of the order, and it may happen to you too. The duration is important because what happens if Twitter doesn't drop below 40 and 4 p.m. comes along? My order is going to be canceled, and I don't have that order again tomorrow. So duration is really important because by default, all orders are day orders. So you have to manually change the duration of the order if you want that order to remain active for multiple trading sessions. So I'm going to do the following. Once you submit the order with a specific duration, the duration cannot be changed unless you cancel and resubmit the order. So I'm going to cancel the order. I'm going to right click on that order and choose to cancel the order. Now you can see a yellow row which shows me that the order has been canceled, and I'm going to do that closing transaction once more. Let me see if I can copy the order. I'm going to right click. Oh yeah, I can copy the order number. Let me create a duplicate order. See if that works. I'm going to create a duplicate order, and yes, it worked. I have an activation rule. Let me see if it's the same activation rule. Yes, it copied the activation rule. Twitter less than 40. Okay, so from the orders panel, you can right click on any order that you had placed previously and copy it. That's very useful. And all I need to do here is change the duration to GTC, which is good till cancel, and then I'll place the order again. Very important if you want an order to remain active for multiple trading sessions. Now in the orders panel, there is a column that is not displayed by default, which is the column that displays any conditional order information. Let me hide my webcam so you can see it right here on the far right. It's a column here that's, let me just make it wider so you can see more of the information. Okay, it's called Advanced. And if you look under the Advanced column, we have the activation rule, Twitter less than 40. So that's information that is in the Advanced column, and as I said earlier, I believe the Advanced column is not visible by default. So if you want to make changes to the columns here, just click on the little wrench right here to configure, and you can click on Customize Columns. See, the ones that are here on the right under Selected are the ones that are currently visible. And what I did, I just see Advanced was here on the left-hand side, so I just clicked on Advanced, click on Add, and then you can move up or move down the columns to rearrange them. So once it's there, my Advanced column is going to show me information on any conditional order that I put in. Perfect. Let me see some of the questions here. David is asking, is GTC 60 days? That's a good question. I think last time I inquired about GTC, I think it's 90 days. Not sure where you got 60 days. It could be, the new GTC, but last time I heard it was 90 days. If you want to know for sure, ask the trade desk and they'll give you a little bit more specific information. So It's a lot of time. You know, when you have an order there for that much time, you need to rethink about your order and what it's doing. Okay, so let's go ahead and close my transaction. Let's say that I do not want to wait until, you know, Twitter drops below 40. Maybe I don't have an use for that call anymore. I want to close it now. Let me right click on that position. I'm going to close this position. It's probably going to reject my order if I don't cancel the pending, you know, exit that it's there. If I do a market close, let me try to do it, and I click on place order, it gets rejected. I'm not sure if you see right there at the bottom of the screen. You see where it says rejected right there at the bottom? So sometimes you may see this when you're trying to exit a position is because you already have active exit orders for that same symbol, and you cannot sell it twice. That's exactly what it's telling you. So let's go ahead and cancel the order first. Right here on the top, I'm going to right click on the row and cancel the order. Okay, now I have 2 canceled orders. And right here in my positions, I'm going to right click and close this position, and I'm going to do it at market. Place the order, and you can see how the position just goes away. I do have a lot of positions here. Let me clean this up a little bit because I wanted to, let me close my Microsoft position at market. I just want to make sure that I clear this out. In fact, I can do that easier on my TradeStation platform. Let me go to my TradeStation. Let me go to my position graph bar. I'm just going to exit American Express. Let's exit something that doesn't have as much. Let's exit Bank of America, and I'll exit JAG. So I'll just leave 2 positions. When I go back to OptionStation Pro, then you can see how my positions panel, it's a little bit more clear. I just didn't want all those positions open at the same time. It lists every single equity position you have in your account, and I just wanted to simplify the view here. Let's go back to options. I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you some spread building. If you want to build spreads from the option chain, all you have to remember is to hold down the control key. If you hold down the control key on your keyboard, you can click on multiple options and build a spread. So for example, let's suppose that I want to build a vertical between the 40 and the 42. All I need to do is hold down the control key. I'll buy the 40 and I'll sell the 42. Notice that when I hold the mouse pointer, I'm holding the control key and I'm clicking on multiple bid or ask, it's going to build those multiple legs into my spread trade bar. So now you can see the 2 legs are there. One is a buy and the other is a sell. That creates a vertical. If you click on, options that classify as one of the standard spread types, OptionStation Pro will automatically recognize it as such. In this case, I clicked on the right legs and it built up a vertical here on my side. One thing that I didn't talk about earlier, when you click on any of the calls or puts, you also get a red and green line on the left side of the strike column. Very useful information because that red and green line tell you where the price needs to go for you to make money. If I get myself into this position, this spread, the price of Twitter needs to go up in order for me to go to the green side. Notice that that's where the green is. In fact, that line that you see there, the point where the line changes from red to green, that is your break-even point. That is exactly the price that Twitter needs to trade at in order for you to break even on your spread. So it's a great visual. You know, you have an additional understanding on which direction the price needs to go for you to be on the positive side. And all I need to do here is trade this. I'm going to turn this into a market order because I want to show you something really cool that we made available here in OptionStation Pro. I'm going to place the order. The order goes through. I get filled. Notice that from here, from the options chain, you get these +1 and -1 in the position column. So you know how many contracts you're holding from the options panel. I'm long one contract here for the 40, and I'm short one contract here for the 42. Very useful information as well. Let me go here to the Manage tab because I'm going to show you what you can do to those positions. When I open up Twitter, you're going to see that OptionStation Pro is going to list your spread as individual legs. And that's interesting because, and sometimes it's confusing, but once you understand why we're doing it, it makes a lot of sense. We are giving you full control over what you can do to those legs. We got you filled as a spread, as a vertical, as you submitted that trade. But when you come here, you have full control over how you want to manage your trade. Do you want to see a vertical? It's very simple. You just have to click one of the legs and drop it on top of the other. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click on the short, drop it on the long, and as soon as I do that, notice how it recognizes the vertical again. And that's cool because I have a plus here on the left-hand side that I can click on, and I can see the individual legs inside of my vertical. Some questions are coming in. Let me see if I can look at them and answer them. From David, can I get the mid price to quote in 5-cent and 10-cent increments? Sometimes it quotes a price like 5.23 or 6.77, and I'll have to adjust it to an acceptable price. David, that's a great question. Sometimes options are priced differently than they're executed at, and those buttons that you see right there below are giving you the trade, actually the bid and ask price. Let me just take a look here. Yeah, and sometimes, if something is priced in increments of a nickel, sometimes, having a price of $2.91 or $2.89 doesn't help you much because you have to adjust it manually. But there's no way to do that. There's no way to control the way that the prices show up in the buttons, because the buttons will always display the bid and ask. So if you want to adjust your pricing, you have to do it with a little directionals in the order bar. Okay, Ricer is asking, hi, there's 2 questions. Can I add bid and ask size on option chain? Is it possible to open a matrix for a single option directly to option chain? Thanks. 2 great questions, Ricer, and let's get to them. First of all, can you add the size of the bid or the ask? I believe you can. Let's go ahead and take a look over here at the top right of my options chain. I can click on this little wrench and then customize columns. And here they are, ask size and bid size. So it's just a matter of adding those columns to your option chain. And for those of you that are listening, if you want to add any of these other informations or columns, feel free to do so. Sometimes, I see open interest and I see volume and I add those to my screen. If you want to add the ask size, you can add it, and the bid size, and you can add it. And then if you want to put them, on or next to the bid and ask, you can always move them up or down. But once I click OK, that information gets added right here on my OptionStation Pro. And your other question is it possible to open up a matrix and link this? Yes, in fact, I think that's very useful, because one of the things that OptionStation Pro doesn't let you do is work with OCO and OSO orders. And if you want to set an OSO or an OCO for an options, you have to go to the TradeStation platform. And just to clarify that a little bit more, OCO and OSO is not available for spreads. This is only on single calls or single puts. But let me show you how you can link your OptionStation Pro to TradeStation so that you can trade options on the matrix. We looked at the matrix yesterday, and I think that's a great idea. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split my screen, and I'm going to have OptionStation Pro on one side, and I'm going to have TradeStation Pro on the other. If you have a computer that has multiple monitors, that's going to be much easier, because if you can put OptionStation Pro on one side and TradeStation on the other. First of all, let me remove those columns that I just added. I just want to simplify the view. All right, I'm going to take my OptionStation Pro and put it right here on the right hand side, and I'm going to put TradeStation on the right side. I'm going to go here to a matrix window, so let me go to apps and open up my matrix. All right, so let me close my chart. Okay, and this is my matrix. It's a little big. I made the font bigger so that we could see it clear. Let me make that font a little bit smaller. It's kind of not fitting here on the screen. I'm going to go to Settings, Window. Let's make the font an 11. All right, that makes it a little bit smaller. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the windows. So if you take a look at OptionStation Pro, notice that at the top right of OptionStation Pro, let me hide my webcam, the linking icon is set to a yellow global symbol link. It's automatically turned on for you. I'm not sure if it's turned on, but if it's not, just go to the little drop down and select a color of your choice. All of these are global though, and global is the way we want it because that's the way that it's going to link up to TradeStation, which is a separate application. And all you need to do is you need to come here to the matrix drop down and make sure to select one of the global ones. The top ones are local, meaning that they only work inside the workspace. But if you select the yellow global symbol link, the same as the actual OptionStation Pro, you can load any symbol here. Let's say that I change the symbol to Microsoft on the matrix, and OptionStation Pro will load Microsoft options for me automatically. You can also do links the other way. Let's say, for example, that I want to trade this call with a strike price of 130. Well, instead of clicking the bid or ask, which actually generates a trade bar or pops up the trade bar from the bottom in OptionStation Pro, click outside of those columns. I usually try to click on a column right on the same row, the one that follows on the left side for the calls, or the right side of the put. So if I click on this one, I click it, and notice how it automatically loads that specific call inside of my matrix. If I want to do the put side, let's say that I want to do the put with a 130 strike, I just go over here to the right, skip the bid or ask, go to the next column and click, and that'll send the put price right here into my matrix. This allows me to do an OSO. Let me adjust the distance here to something that we can see on the screen. I'm going to set it to 8 cents. And if I buy this at market, then I have my, my entry with my exits. So this is the way that you do an OSO right here in the matrix, linking them together. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some other functionality. I see a question here in the chat. How to unwind the vertical spread you just combined? Great question. Let me go ahead and maximize my OptionStation Pro. Let me go back here to my Manage tab. And if you want to undo what you did, the click and drag, just right click on the main row, the one that says vertical, and you can reset the position. Reset the position and you're back on single legs. Okay, let me combine them again. And then right click and you can reset the position. Let me do another vertical and I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm going to go here to options. Let's go back to Twitter, TWTR. Okay, I traded the 40 and the 42 and I'm going to do the put side, but the 44 and the 46. So let me go ahead and I'm going to sell the 44. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to buy the 46. Again, if you look down here, this is the vertical. This is the vertical that I'm trying the price to go down. That's how I go to the green side. I'm going to do a market order on this and place my order. Perfect. Now you can see in my options panel, you can see the -1 and the +1 here on the call side, and you can see the -1 and the +1 on the put side as well. When I go to manage, this is what I see. I see the vertical that I just combined, and I see the other two single legs. Now this is very useful in OptionStation Pro, and I did say this earlier that TradeStation allows you to do anything you want with that position. Let me combine my puts into the vertical, and notice that now I have two verticals, one on puts and the other one on calls. But I can take this one step further, and I can combine those two verticals into a spread. So even though I traded them separately as two separate verticals, now in here in my OptionStation Manage tab, I can click on one vertical and drop it on top of the other, and just take a look at what happened. It actually combined the two verticals, created an iron condor because it satisfied, the characteristics of that iron condor, and it identified it as an iron condor. And now I can just open it up and see the 4 legs that make up this iron condor. So even though, again, I'll repeat it, even though I traded these as two separate verticals, I can come here and trade it as an iron condor. I can say right click on this iron condor, close this position, and notice that I can submit a trade to close out my iron condor. From here, I can also analyze the trade. Remember that I told you that if you leave your clicking on trade, from the trade bar, you can analyze this trade. Well, let's go ahead and analyze it. I'm going to click on analyze, and it's going to send my trade over here to the analysis tab. It's showing me the iron condor. Let's take a look at some other information here on the graph. Let me show my simulations only. Remember that I said that the analysis tab shows you simulations and real positions. So you see the iron condor up here and you see the iron condor below. But over here on the right, I'm going to set it to show my simulations only. That'll give me a little bit more space. So I only see my simulations. And take a look at the graph up here. The graph is very telling because the graph tells you where is it that you make your money. You know, we look at the graph here and you see the yellow line. The yellow line is only on the positive side when it goes outside of a specific range. And it's more visible than that blue line. The blue line represents expiration, and you can see that if the price stays in at the same level that it is right now, you are losing on that trade. Let me show you how much money you would lose, because I can add simulations right here to the graph. Right here, I can click on add, and it's going to add a vertical line. You can see the vertical line right here on the graph that is pinned to the last traded price. So the price that you see here, $41.99, that is the current price of Twitter. And it's going to update as we speak. That's real-time prices pinned to the last. And here, the calculation is set to the current line, which is the yellow line. You can see the theoretical P&L running at the moment, $3. But if you want to say, if you want to see what effect would it have on your P&L if Twitter stays at the same place and your option expires, we can set the calculation to the blue line. I just have to come here to the drop down for plot. I can set it to line number 2, which is the blue line, and I can see what my theoretical P&L would be. If Twitter doesn't do anything, if it doesn't move, my P&L would be it would be a loss of $137.50. So I need to be outside certain prices in order for me to start making money. Now I can drag that line to put it right there at the break-even point. Let's set it that way. So right here, if the price goes or drops to $40.50, I make $1.24. Let me add another slice, and I'll put the other slice on the other side right here when it crosses the zero line. So the only way, let me push it a little bit further so that I make some money. Let me set that to all to plot number 2. So let's see. So the price of Twitter, by looking at this graph, needs to be outside of this range. It needs to be below $40.55, and it needs to be above 46 cents for you to start making money. It's very telling. The graph is very telling. Now, how much money is available with this iron condor? Well, if you look over here at the bottom, you can see how the maximum profit is $56. So all you're going to do by holding this iron condor is right here, $56. There's no more potential. And that is clearly visible here in the wings of this iron condor. You can see how it's flatline about 50, exactly 56, and on the right side is the same. The maximum profit is 56. But holding this iron condor, where you're looking for is for the price to go outside of the range that we just specified, and you know that you're gonna make those $56. It's interesting information right here in the graph. Okay, so we have some time remaining here, so let me show you an interesting feature that we have available here in OptionStation Pro called the Search tab. The Search tab is a way for you to tell OptionStation Pro what you think is going to happen to the market. There's a certain outlook that everyone has. You think the price is going to go up, it's going to go down. You're going to put in those numbers in here, and OptionStation Pro is going to search all the possible options combinations and tell you which option would have returned the most profit based on your assumptions. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here we have the strategy. You can select what your strategy is going to be. Let's suppose that I'm bullish and I'm going to take a limited risk. Here you have a preview of the types of strategies that this is going to look for. And right here where it says market outlook, this is where we supply what we think is going to happen to the market. Let's suppose that we think that Twitter is going to go up by 15%. So it says here we're bullish, and we think that it's going to go up to $48.25. Maybe we have read some news about Twitter. We think the news are bullish. It's going to drive the price up, and we just want to do some testing here. We want to close a trade. Let's say that we want to close the trade at the end of September. Let's do here the Friday or the last Friday of the month. That translates into 30 days of holding period. And the volatility change, that's if you think that the volatility of Twitter is going to change, you can supply an adjustment here. Right now, the volatility is set at 58%. That's the volatility, historical volatility for Twitter. We're going to leave it at 0, no adjustment. It's going to use the same volatility. And now, over here on the right, let me remove my webcam. We have the type of strategies that this is going to search for. We can check or uncheck any of them. And this is going to rank the results based on projected profit, give you a total of 100 results. And all I need to do is click on the Run Search button. As soon as I do that, this will give me a list of positions that will return the most profit. Here's the column for projected profit. If our outlook, which is up here, if our outlook, and this is a big if, if what we think is going to happen to the market actually happens, then these are the options that would give you the best return. This is a single call with a strike price of 32 expiring in October. If you want to analyze this and take a look at it further, we can come over here to the right and click on Analyze. Let me click on Analyze and see what happens. I click on Analyze. It sends me over here. I can clear some of the information here so that I have a clean slate. I just want to show my simulations, and I'm going to remove that iron condor from here. So that's my single call right here, expiring in October with a strike price of 32. If we said that we thought the price was going to go up to 48, right? So I can add a price slice and say it's going to go up to 48. And at expiration, or even right now, that would give you a theoretical P&L right there, which is about $600. If I go back to the search, you can see that that's my projected profit. The projected price was 58 or 48.31, so it's a little bit more than what I put in the graph, but it does provide you, what options positions would provide you the best profit. Here I can uncheck certain strategies. Let's say that I do not want to do call strategies. I just click Run Search again, and now I have, verticals. Here's verticals and puts. I can choose to analyze that one too. Click on Analyze over here on the far right. It sends me over here to the Analysis tab. Let me remove that single. I'm going to analyze the vertical. And you can see again what's going on here. If the price rises to 48, I make a theoretical P&L of about $85, and that matches here the projected profit. So it's interesting how you can make these simulations, and OptionStation Pro can search for positions that will provide you with the best return. This is pretty much all the information that I had for you guys. I want to say that it was a pleasure spending this time with all of you. Hopefully, OptionStation Pro is not, complicated anymore. I kind of try to make the presentation as simple as I could. If there's any specific questions you have on OptionStation Pro, you're welcome to join me tomorrow during Ask the TradeStation Experts. We are also doing a morning presentation on web and mobile. So if you're interested in trading options, or even looking at your account on the go using a web browser or your mobile app, please make sure that you join me at 10:30 tomorrow for the Getting Started on Web and Mobile. I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in a future event. Goodbye, everyone.